Ever feel like you need a shortcut to being truly in the know? Like there's some complex situation, maybe layers of history, hidden motives, and you just want someone to, connect the dots for you. That's pretty much what we do here. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Valley of Fear. And look, this isn't just another Sherlock Holmes mystery. It's really a masterclass in how you tell a story, weaving together a murder happening now with this dramatic backstory from decades ago, continents apart.
Exactly. Our mission today is really to untangle this whole thing. It spans 2 continents, decades. We want to show how these events that seem totally disconnected are actually, woven into one single gripping story. It's about survival, justice, this relentless pursuit. And we'll pull out those surprising facts, those aha moments that make it so rich. By the end, you'll really get a handle on a case that, well, it kept even the sharpest minds guessing.
Yeah, and we're drawing all our insights today from the Project Gutenberg ebook of The Valley of Fear. It's a fantastic source, freely available too, which is great for this kind of literary exploration. Anyone can dive in. So, okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this. So our deep dive begins, maybe surprisingly, not with a body, but with a warning. Sherlock Holmes gets this coded message. It's from an informant, Porlock, described as shifty and evasive. But the key thing is, he's a link to Professor Moriarty himself. What do we even make of that, starting with Moriarty before crimes even happened?
Well, it's striking, isn't it? Doyle immediately cranks up the stakes. Holmes isn't just reacting here. He's, anticipating. And his focus isn't just on the message. It's the tiny details, like Porlock's handwriting, that Greek E with a peculiar top flourish. It signals this lurking, really formidable evil, confirms Moriarty is sinister in the highest degree sinister. It pulls you right into Holmes' world where he's trying to prevent crime, not just avenge it. He values that predictive side.
Right. And the message itself, once Holmes cracks the code using an old almanac, it's blunt. There is danger may come very soon. One Douglas Rich country now at Burlstone House. Burlstone confidence is pressing. It's a direct warning, urgent, pointing straight at this guy Douglas at Burlstone House.
It's classic Holmes, really. You get a glimpse into how he works, piecing together these fragments, often from, unlikely places, to see what's coming. He's always a step ahead.
And then, almost the second he figures it out, Inspector MacDonald from Scotland Yard shows up. And this is where it gets really interesting. MacDonald announces Mr. John Douglas of Burlstone Manor House was horribly murdered last night. So the warning becomes reality, like instantly. It feels almost too neat, What's your take on that timing?
Exactly. And you could bet Holmes is thinking the same thing. He's described as interested, but hardly surprised. Not because he's callous, but because, well, that immediate confirmation.
Right.
It raises a different kind of flag for him. It's almost like someone wanted the warning confirmed that fast, maybe setting something up. His mind is already, several moves ahead, seeing connections, maybe manipulation, where others just see the facts.
Okay, let's picture the scene then. Burlstone Manor. It's this ancient Jacobean building, kind of isolated, half a mile from the village. But here's the really crucial bit. It's got a moat, a wide moat, and a drawbridge they pull up every night at 6 p.m. Turns the whole place into an island.
Yeah, that moat and drawbridge, it's everything. It creates that impossible room situation right away. It's a classic detective trope, but Doyle uses it brilliantly. It's meant to mislead everyone, the police, us, the reader. Makes an outside killer seem incredibly difficult. It forces Holmes to look past the physical stuff right into the psychological games being played. It's not just a locked room, it's a setup.
So who are the main players in this impossible drama? You've got the victim, John Douglas, wealthy guy, about 50. Made his money in California goldfields, apparently. People liked him, genial, fearless, popular, but also a bit, maybe offhand. Suggests a past not typical for English county society. Then there's his wife, Mrs. Douglas, beautiful, English, much younger, 20 years younger, described as retiring but showing signs of, nerve strain. And she's cagey about his past. And the third one is Cecil Barker, old friend of Douglas from America. Visits a lot. He's described as tall, straight, broad-chested, kind of masterful. And the servants hint his closeness with Mrs. Douglas sometimes irritated the husband.
And these aren't just character sketches, are they? They're immediate red flags, for Holmes and for us. Douglas being offhand. Hints at a hidden life. Mrs. Douglas's nerve strain, screams secret. And the potential tension with Barker, that closeness, immediately throws a wrench into any simple motive, like robbery. Doyle layers all this in to make that perfect crime look shaky from the start, suggests something deeper, more personal, simmering away.
And the evidence found at the scene is just as weird. The murder weapon's a sawed-off shotgun, probably American. Found right there in the study, Douglas was shot in the head. Gruesome. There's this mysterious card next to the body. VD-341, what's that about? And his wedding ring is gone, but a gold nugget ring is still on his finger. Cecil Barker says he heard the shot, rushed in within 30 seconds. He claims the window was open, muddy boot prints on the sill, suggesting the killer waited the moat. But again, the drawbridge was raised hours before.
Yeah, it just doesn't add up, does it? Common sense-wise. Like McDonald himself points out, why use the loudest possible weapon if you know escape across a moat is going to be tough?
Yeah.
He calls it inconceivable, clean against common sense. He's right. And the rings. Taking the wedding ring but leaving a valuable gold nugget ring, it's not burglary. It feels deliberate, personal, like the whole scene was carefully staged.
And as Holmes starts digging, doing sound tests in the house, all that, he spots something vital. A branded mark on Douglas's forearm. A triangle inside a circle. The butler, Ames, remembers seeing it before. Holmes also finds a similar mark on a dumbbell in Douglas's room. This points straight to some kind of secret society, right?
Absolutely. That's a huge connect the dots moment.
Yeah.
It just shifts the whole focus instantly. What looked maybe domestic or like a simple break-in, suddenly it's potentially organized and maybe vengeful, links right back to those sinister forces Holmes suspected from the start with Moriarty. It practically screams secret past catching up. And that brand is like its signature. The dumbbell, too. The brand makes Holmes question its real purpose, not just exercise.
And then Holmes drops the bombshell. After all his deductions, checking alibis, the sounds, he says Barker and Mrs. Douglas's story. It's a clumsy fabrication, a lie. He figures the shot actually happened half an hour earlier than they claimed, when the housekeeper heard what she thought was a door slamming. And even though the police find this bicycle belonging to an American named Hargrave, miles away seems to confirm an outside killer. Holmes isn't buying it. He asks that weird question about the single dumbbell. Why should an athletic man develop his frame upon so unnatural an instrument? It sounds random, but it shows he's onto something much bigger.
His genius is seeing the lie, isn't it? Not just the physical clues. He states flat out there was a deliberate conspiracy between the two people who heard the shot. He thinks Barker put the blood on the windowsill himself, planting a false clue. It totally blows up the initial police theory, points the finger right back inside the house. It just shows how he reads human deception like an open book.
And he proves it with this dramatic stakeout. Holmes watches Cecil Barker sneak out and pull a sodden bundle out of the moat. Inside, American boots, a knife, clothes, a yellow overcoat.
Brilliant. Classic Holmes in action. He knew it was there. He had found the bundle earlier himself, but left it, anticipating Barker would try to retrieve it later. It's concrete proof they were actively tampering with the crime scene, planting false trails. He used their own deception against them.
And then the twist to end all twists, the one that changes absolutely everything. From a secret hiding place inside Burlstone Manor, out walks John Douglas. Alive. Douglas was the truth. The dead guy. That was Ted Baldwin, the cyclist, an old enemy who came to kill him. Douglas killed Baldwin defending himself. Then, with his wife and Barker, they switched identities, put Douglas' dressing gown on Baldwin to fake his death. I mean, he basically staged his own murder using his killer's body. It's audacious, almost darkly funny. What does that tell you about Douglas?
It tells you he was a man cornered, but incredibly resourceful. Someone who understood extreme threats, and someone who learned to live constantly looking over his shoulder, thinking ahead. This wasn't impulsive. It feels like the desperate act of a man haunted by his past, a testament to the kind of ingenuity born from sheer terror. And suddenly, everything clicks into place. The missing wedding ring, Douglas took it off Baldwin. The VV341 card that was Baldwin's number. The planted clues. The lies. His survival exposes this incredibly dangerous past. He had to dodge British law, fake his own death just to escape it. And the branded mark that triangle in a circle on both men. That seals it, confirms the identity swap and their shared violent history. This is the moment the English murder mystery slams right into this huge American backstory.
Okay, so Holmes has cracked the Burlstone case, but the why is still hanging there. To really get the depth of Douglas's fear, Doyle does this amazing thing. He yanks us out of England entirely, takes us back 20 years, thousands of miles, to this industrial hellhole called Vermissa Valley in Pennsylvania, 1875. This is the Valley of Fear Mrs. Douglas mentioned. This is where it all started.
Yeah, and that flashback structure, it's not just clever plotting, it's psychologically brilliant. Doyle makes us wait, makes us wrestle with the present-day mystery before revealing the terrifying roots from decades ago. It really ramps up the sense of this relentless pursuit, makes Douglas's desperation feel completely real, not just something we're told about. It grounds the English mystery in this much bigger, much more violent history, shows how the past can just hunt a man down no matter where he runs.
So, you're Missa Valley. We meet Jack McMurdo. New guy in town. Mysterious. Described as a fresh complexion, middle-sized, but with this firmness of jaw and grim tightness about the lips. He's carrying a hidden revolver, hints about trouble back in Chicago, gets into a fight with cops on the train right away, kind of foreshadows he's capable, but also stepping into a dangerous place.
Doyle crafts that description carefully, doesn't he? Suggests there's more to McMurdo than meets the eye. Makes you wonder right away what he's really doing there. He's a walking question mark.
And McMurdo quickly gets in with the local lodge of the Eminent Order of Freemen. But he soon finds out the horrifying truth. It's a front. It's really a murderous secret society. Locally, they call them the Scours. They basically run the whole coal and iron district through terror, violence, intimidation, blackmail. And here's where it clicks back to Burlstone again. McMurdo goes through this brutal initiation and gets branded with that same emblem. A triangle inside a circle on his forearm. The exact same mark Douglas and Baldwin had.
And the leader, Body Master McGinty. Chilling description, he's a public official. A municipal councilor, using his respectable position to hide this criminal empire. It's a really striking parallel to Moriarty, isn't it? Public face, criminal mastermind underneath. And that branding detail just hammers home how real and inescapable this organization is. It's a physical mark of belonging, a tie to this life of crime you can't erase. Explains why these guys could never truly get away. It's not just a plot point, it symbolizes that fear and ownership.
Right. So we have this incredibly sinister group, the Scours, basically controlling the whole area. But how did they actually do it? What were they doing day to day that made this place the Valley of Fear?
Well, it wasn't just small stuff. It was systemic terror. They'd extort money from businesses, anyone who opposed them, violently suppressed. Like that editor, James Sanger, who McMurdo actually helps beat up. They carried out cold-blooded murders and nobody did anything. Why? Because they had the local police, the courts, totally in their pocket, corrupt. It raises huge questions about, abuse of power, systemic corruption. The whole community was paralyzed by fear, a place where crime happens openly because, as the book says, no one would dare to witness against them. Just a perfect breeding ground for a group like this.
And in the middle of all this darkness, McMurdo, he shows this protective side towards Eddie Shafter. She's the woman he loves, and she's terrified of the Scours, terrified of McGinty. She begs McMurdo to leave the valley with her, but he won't. He insists on staying.
His refusal is interesting, isn't it? Even with Eddie pleading, it adds another layer. Suggests his reason for being there, his commitment to whatever game he's playing, runs deeper than just, getting by. Hints at a hidden purpose.
Then, a really scared member, a guy named Morris, secretly tips off McMurdo. He says a Pinkerton detective, using the name Bertie Edwards, has infiltrated the lodge. He's gathering evidence. Now, for anyone listening who doesn't know, the Pinkertons were this famous, or maybe infamous, private detective agency in America, almost like a private police force, known for being relentless, sometimes ruthless. This tip-off is the absolute turning point in the whole backstory.
And McMurdo's reaction tells you a lot. Publicly, he's still got that bravado, but secretly, he's worried. He starts destroying incriminating papers, making plans to leave quickly with Eddie. Shows he's not just cold-blooded, he's calculating, sure, but he also wants to survive. And maybe there's a conscience in there we haven't seen yet.
And then comes the big reveal, the truly jaw-dropping moment. There's a lodge meeting, McMurdo stands up, claims urgency, reveals the threat this Bertie Edwards is among them, and then he just drops it on them, right in front of McGinty, Ted Baldwin, all these killers. Bertie Edwards is here, I am Bertie Edwards. Wow, the sheer nerve, the theatrics.
It's incredible, isn't it? The audacity, the bravery. Think about it. He'd infiltrated the most dangerous gang around, lived among them for months, endured God knows what, all while keeping his cover. And then, bam! The police, led by Captain Marvin, burst in through the windows. Shows meticulous planning. Edwards himself explains the immense risk. Not a soul, not one soul, not my nearest and dearest, knew that I was playing it. He talks about the personal cost. And during 3 months in that hell, connects right back to that theme of sacrifice for a greater good. And with that one reveal, Doyle writes, the cloud was lifted forever from the valley.
Even with the Scours arrested, McGinty executed, many jailed, it's not over for Bertie Edwards. The surviving members like Ted Baldwin, they swear revenge. They hunt him relentlessly for years, and that explains his life on the run.
Exactly. That's the root of Douglas's or Edwards's constant fear. Why he had to flee across the world, keep changing identities, becoming John Douglas, making money in California. And tragically, his first wife, Eddie, died during that time, constantly under threat. It just highlights how devastating and unending this vendetta really was.
Okay, so let's tie it all together now. What does this whole American backstory mean for that initial murder back in England?
Well, the murder at Burlstone Manor, It was the end game of that decades-long vendetta. John Douglas, the supposed victim, was really Bertie Edwards, the Pinkerton detective from Vermissa.
Yeah.
And the man found dead, Ted Baldwin, one of the surviving scourers who swore revenge, finally catching up to him. The whole story, continents and decades apart, just snaps into focus. It's quite something. The aha moments just pile up, don't they? Suddenly, all those weird details make perfect sense. The American sawed-off shotgun, Baldwin brought it. The VV-341 card, Baldwin's lodge number. The brand on both men, proof of their shared scour past. And Douglas's fearless character. It wasn't just him being brave. It was forged by years of facing down these exact criminals, living life on the absolute edge. It really shows how deep the roots of a crime can go and how brilliantly Doyle structured this whole thing.
So Douglas kills Baldwin in self-defense, but he knows others are still out there. To finally escape, he, his wife, and Cecil Barker cook up this incredibly elaborate plan. Fake Douglas's death using Baldwin's body. The delayed alarm, the bloodstain planted on the windowsill, hiding the bicycle was all part of this desperate deception.
And it really underscores the incredible loyalty of Mrs. Douglas and Barker, doesn't it? What first looked like maybe a conspiracy to cover up a murder was actually a conspiracy of protection. Of love, even.
Yeah.
Designed to give Douglas the peace he'd been chasing his whole life. They were willing to break the law, risk everything, because they knew his life depended on it.
But then there's that tragic ending, the epilogue. Holmes gets a cable, says Jack, that's Douglas Edwards, was lost overboard in gale off St. Helena. He was sailing to South Africa with his wife. Now, on the surface, it sounds like maybe he finally got away, pulled off the ultimate escape. But then this, lost overboard. Is Holmes just being paranoid here, or is there more to it?
Well, Holmes is rarely paranoid without good reason. He calls it a stage-managed murder. And why? Because of the shadow that's been hanging over the whole story. Moriarty. Remember that very first warning from Porlock? It wasn't just about Baldwin showing up. It hinted at the bigger network, the reach of those sinister forces Douglas tangled with. Holmes points the finger straight at Professor Moriarty, hired, he suspects, by the remaining scourers in America to finish the job. Moriarty, this great consultant in crime, simply wouldn't afford to fail. He'd ensured Douglas was silenced for good, so that initial warning about Moriarty bookends the whole story, taking on this chilling final significance. Shows how interconnected evil can be, stretching across oceans, even reaching out beyond a fake death.
Wow, what an incredible story. The Valley of Fear. It's so much more than just a detective puzzle, isn't it? It's this huge, sprawling saga. Shows how complicated truth can be, how the past just refuses to stay buried, how even a mind like Holmes has to connect these really distant dots to get the whole picture. It really is a masterclass in unfolding a narrative layer by layer.
Absolutely, and we've seen how tiny details, a flourish in handwriting, a brand, a single dumbbell, even the exact timing of a gunshot, they weren't just clues, they were keys. Keys to unlocking this entire multi-layered mystery spanning years and continents. It's a real testament to the idea that, true understanding means piecing together fragments, looking beyond the surface, and seeing the deeper connections Doyle builds in.
And maybe for you, listening, think about this. How often do we run into situations, maybe personally, maybe professionally, where what we see right now is just the tip of the iceberg? What hidden histories, what unspoken motives, what secret connections might be churning away beneath the surface of what's happening today?
Yeah, the next time you're faced with something puzzling, a challenge, maybe just a confusing news story, remember this deep dive. Question those first assumptions. Look past the obvious. Search for those subtle threads connecting now to a past that might be way more complex, maybe even more dangerous than it first appears. The truth is rarely simple, is it? And often the real insight comes from understanding that valley of fear that came before, and maybe the unseen hands like Moriarty's that could still be pulling the strings.
So next time you face an enigma, maybe just pause. Ask yourself, what are the real connections here? What's the hidden history shaping this moment? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.